to present the 2018 recipient of the Milton Friedman Prize for Advancing Liberty, please welcome Rosa Maria Paya.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The 75 are the heroes of an effort called the Varela Project. Citizen leaders that, together with my father, Oswaldo Paya, dared to defy the regime, to gather a movement of tens of thousands of Cubans demanding the real change. Together with them, there were the bold independent journalists that break the wall of silence about the repressive regime and the efforts of the human rights defenders. When that March 2003, the hate darkened our Cuban spring, and those 75 activists were hunted and imprisoned by the dictator, many in the world believed that that was the end of the Cuban resistance. And it was indeed a huge stroke. But it was not the end. It was actually a painful new beginning. Suddenly, the wives, daughters, sisters, and mothers of the imprisoned heroes stand up for their freedom, demonstrating social courage that they amazed the world. Women that nobody knew, dressed in white clothes, were then taking the streets, Sunday after Sunday, right after Mass, peacefully demanding the liberation of their dear ones, with a flower in their hands as their only weapon. By doing so, the ladies in white returned the hope to many. The cruelest repression and beatings never stopped then. These women persevered. And when the criminal regime let Orlando Zapata die in prison in 2010, the ladies kept fighting even harder until the last of the 75 was released. And then they continued for the liberation of all the other political prisoners. And when the hospital of the dictatorship ended with the life of the brave Laura Pollán, Berta Soler took her burden and kept walking with the ladies of the freedom. And when the Castro brothers finally killed my father 6 years ago, these women made a human change around his coffin to protect his dead body from the repressors. And today, when the repression is so hard that the dictatorship doesn't even allow them to get to Mass each Sunday, these women face beatings, jail, and harassment. But they keep trying Sunday after Sunday. And still, the Castro brothers are so coward that they prevented Berta Soler to get here tonight. To her, to Leticia, to Sailí, to Belka, and to all the brave ladies that are locked in our island. And to the sweet Laura Pollán, and Gloria Maya, and all the ladies in white that have passed away. And to Blanca, to Dolia, to Lourdes, to all the ladies in white that live and suffer the exile, to all of them, my gratitude and my admiration. As my father said, As my father said in 2005, these women relatives were imprisoned to kill the hope, to bury the spring. But hope is alive, and the ladies in white are the flower of the spring. For all this and much more, I truly thank Cato Institute for honoring the ladies in white with the Milton Friedman Award for Advancing Freedom. And in the name of the Cuban people, I thank all and every of the ladies in white. God bless you today and always. Dios las bendiga. And now you'll see a short video on the life and work of the ladies.
Freedom of thought, freedom of expression. These fundamental freedoms are essential to individual liberty and flourishing free societies. For many, these inalienable rights are woven into the fabric of our daily lives and taken for granted. Not in Cuba. The Cuban Revolution that brought Fidel Castro to power in 1959 is a well-known and often romanticized story. Castro, a lawyer turned guerrilla leader, and his small band of revolutionary fighters overthrow the brutal and unpopular dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista. The Cuban people, weary of corruption and hardship, celebrate as Castro promises social and economic reforms.
Yo, como la mayoría del pueblo de Cuba, apoyamos la revolución al principio, en enero del 1959, porque pensamos que todo aquel torrente de justicia social, de respeto a la dignidad del ser humano que Castro estaba prometiendo, iba a ser realidad. Pero muy pronto comprendí que Castro lo que estaba haciendo era sencillamente sustituyendo la dictadura de Batista por su propia dictadura comunista.
Castro consolidates his power. He recruits the Cuban people to monitor and inform on their neighbors. Political dissent and independent journalism are criminalized. It soon becomes clear that Castro's brand of reform comes at a steep price for the Cuban people: individual freedom.
Are you a communist, Fidel? Well, wait for the history. The history will say what we are.
Almost 45 years after Castro took power, Cuba remains firmly in the grip of his authoritarian regime and ever-present revolution. Hundreds of thousands of Cubans have fled the island seeking personal safety and freedom in Europe and the United States. Those who stay live under the constant threat of persecution and violence from the regime's thuggish state security.
It's very hard because of the consequences are real. The oppression is there. The threats are there. It's to live with the certainty that there are others that are watching each of your steps and are ready to repress you, to menace you, or to act against your life.
In March of 2003, as the world's attention is focused on the impending U.S. invasion of Iraq, the Cuban government arrests 75 dissidents, including independent journalists and human rights activists. All are charged with conspiring to undermine the state, and in summary trials, are sentenced from 6 to 28 years in prison.
Yo fundé una agencia de noticias que se llamaba Cuba Press, que era un pequeño grupo de periodistas que hacíamos comentarios, hacíamos noticias, sobre todo de lo que hacían los grupos pacíficos de oposición, y también dando nuestras opiniones sobre lo que estaba pasando en Cuba. Y me condenaron por ese trabajo de periodista independiente a 20 años de cárcel.
Porque eran juicios sumarios. En menos de 72 horas se llevaron a 75 opositores y decían que eran de la droga. El problema es que al otro día, a mí me parecía de pronto que La Habana estaba como muerta, era como un silencio. Entonces yo fui a un mercado y me dijeron que se habían llevado a la gente de la droga. Y dije, no, no se llevaron a la gente de la droga, se llevaron a gente que no piensan como el gobierno.
While Rivero and the others disappear behind bars, the international community condemns the crackdown and its brazen violation of human rights. At home, families of those arrested seek answers and are met with official rejection and harassment. With no help from the state, the wives turn to each other for information and support. They will become the Damas de Blanco, the ladies in white.
Se formó de una manera espontánea porque nadie entendía por qué, si nadie tenía ni un cuchillo, ni un revólver, ni nada. Se lo llevaron porque a este señor, a Fidel Castro, se le antojó decirlo, mandar a acabar con la disidencia, y no sabía, ni nosotros tampoco, que las mujeres iban a defender a los maridos.
Understanding that there is power in numbers, the women begin attending Sunday church service at St. Rita's in Havana. They wear white to symbolize peace and dignity. They carry a flower. They hold signs and wear shirts bearing the images of their imprisoned loved ones. In peaceful protest, they ask that the prisoners be released. The regime labels the Damas de Blanco counter-revolutionaries and begins a relentless campaign of harassment, intimidation, and violence. Despite the attacks, the Damas persist, and persist, and persist. Their leader, retired Spanish teacher Laura Poyan, becomes a powerful spokesperson for the struggle for liberty in Cuba.
No vamos a dejar de luchar. Ahora más que nunca tenemos que ser fuertes y continuar para alcanzar nuestro verdadero y gran premio por el que luchamos, la libertad de los prisioneros políticos. ¡Libertad!
8 years after the crackdown, all of the Black Spring prisoners have been released due to constant pressure from the Damas de Blanco, intervention by the international community, and the regime's desire to tidy its human rights image. Months after her husband, Hector Maceda, was freed, Laura Poyan dies under suspicious circumstances, and Berta Soler becomes the group's leader. The Damas de Blanco vow to continue their fight for the rights of the Cuban people.
Bueno, a los cubanos lo más importante es que vamos a unirnos, que todos salgan de su casa, salgan a las calles, con principio y pacíficamente a luchar por lo que nos ha robado el gobierno de Cuba, la libertad.
Cuba's new president has pledged fidelity to the military regime and has made it clear that Raúl Castro will continue to call the shots. So where does that leave the Cuban people and their quest for liberty?
How the future unfolds in Cuba is impossible to predict. Conditions, economic and social, on the island continue to deteriorate. Repression has increased and it will continue to increase. And as that happens, the role of the ladies in white will become increasingly important, and so will their message. It is that even in the face of the worst repression, life is worth living, and it's worth living on one's own terms. And that's a message that the rest of the world needs to acknowledge, and it needs to let the Damas de Blanco know that they're not alone, they're not forgotten, and that the civilized world shares these values with them.
Para Cuba espero libertad, porque la libertad es una necesidad del ser humano. Un hombre, un ser humano, una mujer no pueden realizarse nunca plenamente, ni física ni espiritualmente, si no tienen libertad. Las Damas de Blanco son un símbolo de las ansias de libertad que tienen los cubanos, y además es una demostración irrefutable de la naturaleza criminal de la dictadura de Cuba.
Oh, it's very important, the testimony and the example that they set for the rest of the Cuban people. Cubans that admire them in secret or that dare to express their admiration for these ladies, for these brave women that dare to confront and challenge such a big monster that is the Cuban secret police, and there is the generals in power. You cannot see that and remain the same.
Tonight, we honor the Damas de Blanco, courageous defenders of freedom, powerful messengers to the world that the struggle for liberty in Cuba will not be silenced by propaganda, intimidation, or violence, but will continue until its people are free to speak their minds, follow their hearts, and have a say in their futures.
It's my honor. It's my honor to invite three of the ladies in white to the stage to receive the Milton Friedman Prize for Advancing Liberty. Blanca Reyes, Dolia Leal, and Lourdes Esquivel. It's an honor to present this to you. The Milton Friedman Prize for Advancing Liberty, 2018, Las Damas de Blanco, in recognition of their courageous, peaceful, and steadfast defense of freedom of expression and political liberty, even in the face of harassment and arrest, awarded this 17th day of May, 2018.
Queridos amigos,
before we hear from Blanca, you heard that Laura Palan, one of the original leaders of the ladies, died under mysterious circumstances in 2011. We had hoped to have the current leader, Berta Soler, here, but she was not allowed to leave the country. One of her colleagues was told that she could leave the country on May 18th, tomorrow. But Berta has a brief video that we're able to transmit.
Estimados amigos, defensores y promotores de la libertad, este reconocimiento significa solidaridad con las víctimas y a la vez nuestro compromiso de no apartarnos de la palabra empeñada con los que hoy están tras las rejas en Cuba por levantarse en busca de la libertad y un futuro mejor para todos los cubanos. Este reconocimiento se lo dedicamos a Laura Pollán, a todos los presos políticos cubanos y a todos los que han confiado en nosotras. Finalmente, las Damas de Blanco, reiteramos nuestro agradecimiento a todos los que hicieron posible este importante reconocimiento. Gracias a todos y que Dios los bendiga.
And now we'll hear from Blanca Reyes.
Queridos amigos, nuestras primeras palabras para la Junta Directiva de la Cato, para todas las personas que han promovido y avalado el Premio Milton Friedman a las Damas de Blanco y para quienes han tenido la cortesía y la gentileza de acompañarnos hoy aquí. Tiene que ser de gratitud, de regocijo y de emoción, porque esos sentimientos son los que acompañan ahora mismo a las mujeres que allá lejos, en la isla de Cuba, salen todos los días a luchar por la libertad de los presos políticos y la democracia de su país.
Dear friends, to the Board of Directors of the Cato Institute, to all the people who have promoted and endorsed the Milton Friedman Award to the Ladies in White, and for those who have had the courtesy and kindness to accompany us here today, our first words must be of gratitude, joy, and excitement, because those feelings right now are accompanying those women on the island of Cuba who every day fight for freedom of political prisoners and democracy for our country.
El galardón que recibimos esta noche tiene un prestigio y una fuerza moral de rango internacional que de repente pasa a respaldar una labor que se realiza con humildad, bajo la más brutal represión, casi sin reportes de prensa, sin protagonismo circense, con una vocación de entrega y de firmeza, solo comparable al empeño de ver libres a los prisioneros, libre la patria y hecho realidad el progreso y las transformaciones positivas de la nación.
The award that we are receiving tonight has an international prestige and a moral force that explicitly support a toil that is carried out with humility, under the most brutal repression, almost without press coverage, without protagonism, with a vocation of commitment and firmness, comparable only to their determination to see our prisoners released, our country free, and the reality of positive transformations for our nation.
En efecto, ese es el mayor significado del Milton Friedman, para un grupo de mujeres cubanas que enfrentan cada hora un régimen dictatorial con un arsenal que incluye oraciones, talleres literarios, misas en las iglesias y pacíficos desfiles silenciosos en los que se lleva en la mano un simple gladiolo y las flores deben tener algún mensaje de peligro para los represores.
Indeed, that is the greatest significance of the Milton Friedman Award for a group of Cuban women who daily face a dictatorial regime with an arsenal that includes prayers, literary workshops, mass and silent marches, carrying in their hands a simple gladiola, flowers which must surely contain dangerous messages for their repressors.
Caminatas, lecturas de cartas de más de los 140 cubanos que están en las 200 cárceles del territorio nacional, oraciones, poemas y flores. Ese es el instrumento de las Damas de Blanco, que empezaron sus peregrinaciones en la iglesia de Santa Rita, en las barriadas habaneras de Miramar, y se han extendido a otras provincias, entre las que se destacan especialmente Matanzas, Holguín, Santiago de Cuba y Guantánamo.
Walks, readings of letters from more than 140 political prisoners throughout 200 prisons in Cuba, prayers, poems, and flowers. That is the wherewithal of the ladies in white, who began their pilgrimage in the Church of Santa Rita, Miramar, in a neighborhood of Havana, and have spread to other provinces. Their activism in Matanzas, Holguín, Santiago de Cuba, Guantánamo is especially noteworthy.
En un instante como este de fiesta y alegría, no puedo negar que está con nosotros en esta velada extraordinaria el espíritu de nuestra hermana Laura Pollán, su gestora inicial de las Damas de Blanco, y quien le transmitió su pureza, su afán de unidad y cohesión y las alternativas de su cordialidad. Allá, en su modesta casa del centro de La Habana, tuvimos nuestra primera sede y de esa sala salimos a toda Cuba.
At a moment like this of merriment and joy in this extraordinary evening, I am sure that among us is the spirit of her sister, Laura Pollán, the initial leader of the Ladies in White, who conveyed to the movement her desire for unity and cordiality. In her modest home in central Havana, we had her first headquarters, and from her living room, we spread throughout Cuba.
Y pueden estar seguros de que también está Berta Soler, que ha tenido que enviar un discurso grabado porque la policía política no le permitió viajar como suele hacer. Y es por eso que la querida Berta está más cerca que nunca de nosotros. Se siente aquí, al lado, con todo el rigor de su liderazgo, el vigor de su gestión y el coraje que enseña en la dirección de una institución perseguida y odiada por la dictadura militar, pero con la señora Soler en su vanguardia, acaba de cumplir 15 años. Muchas gracias.
You can be sure that among us is also Berta Soler, who had to send her recorded speech because once more the political police did not allow her to travel. Our beloved Berta is closer than ever to us. We can feel her here next to us with all her consistency and fortitude of leadership, the courage she shows in guiding an institution persecuted and hated by the Cuban military dictatorship. But with Mrs. Soler at its vanguard, it just celebrated its 15th anniversary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the ladies in white for their courage. I'd like to thank the members of our host committee for their great generosity in support of this event. And I'd really like to thank our incredible event staff for putting on a flawless evening. Please join us for continued conversation and libation. But thanks to the laws of the United States, there will be no Cuban rum. And thanks to the laws of the city of New York, there'll be no cigars of any kind. Please join us, enjoy the rest of the evening, and thanks for being here.